wanted to go over Optane DC persistent memory and how UCS is using it. So I'd like to start with just talking a little bit about the Intel Optane. Well, yeah, Kermit the Frog's pretty excited about it, but hopefully you guys could get a little bit excited about some of this. I'm going to go through this pretty quick, try to make it short, and then I'll have stuff at the end of the slide deck to give you links to some other sites. So what's this stuff look like? Real quick, it looks like a memory DIMM. Nothing too exciting about it. You've got 128, 256, and 512 gig modules, and they plug into system boards just like regular old memory DIMMs, and they go in the regular old memory DIMM slots. So super easy to deal with for your customers. Where do these line up as far as performance? Obviously DRAM is king here, and it really just fits right in under DRAM as far as performance. It runs at roughly the same speed, but it does have some latency issues that make it just a little bit slower than DRAM, right? So the offset to that is that it's a persistent memory module. So obviously Optane fits into the SSD space as well, but with SSD you're going through the SAS bus and going through the iSCSI protocol, or SCSI protocol I should say. So that kind of gives you an idea of where it fits in roughly in performance. So let's talk a little bit about memory modes. There's really two modes right now for Optane memory. You've got memory mode and app direct mode, and they operate in two very different ways. So it makes sense to understand a little bit of this. So we'll go into that on the next slide. For security, you've got 256 AES hardware encryption built into the memory module. So if somebody walks off with a module, you're protected in that way. And then it's also good to understand that it really requires specific Cascade Lake processors to make this work, right? So it's not going to work with every single Cascade Lake out there. All right, so a typical memory mode configuration is going to look something like this. So you've got two modules for standard DRAM, and then two modules for Optane. You're going to see them paired up like this. And what happens in memory mode is that standard DRAM acts as cache in the system. And it's a cache for your Optane memory. So for that reason, the active usable memory is what you have in the Optane DIMM slots. You do not count what's in the standard DRAM slots as usable memory because, again, it's cache. Because it's cache, these Optane DIMMs, even though they are persistent, are not considered persistent by the system, because if you lose power to the cache or the system blue screens and it's not being written to anymore, this cache is then either lost or corrupted, thus corrupting what's out on these Optane DIMMs. So in essence, you have inconsistent data in your memory, and obviously that's not something that's sustainable. So it really, you got to have that understanding that this, again, even though it's persistent, it is not considered persistent by the system. Okay, so you might ask, why would anybody use this? Well, if you've got a customer that needs a ton of RAM in a system and doesn't want to mess with changing their application to understand the persistence of the memory, this is a good way to leverage this technology. All right, so the other way to do it is app direct mode. It's totally different to memory mode. With app direct mode, the application is the key here. The application has to be written for Optane persistent memory. And if it's not, it won't work. So the application still uses DRAM like it always has with regular DRAM. but then it also has this layer that understands the persistence of the Optane memory. So I won't go into the details. There's a lot of detail around that and how it would work based on every single application that's leveraging it. But just understand that there are two modes that you need to be cognizant of when you're talking to the customer. Okay, so DC persistent memory is supported on these processors. Again, remember they're not supported. It's not supported on every single processor out there. So take a look at these specs. Understand that when you're configuring a server, you're going to have to you're going to have to pay attention to what processor you're using if you want to use Optane memory. All right, so in the Cisco line, the 220, the 240, and 200, the B200, M5 models will all support it, assuming you have the right processor. The C480 and B480 models will, as well as the 3260 storage server will also support it. Okay, so one nice thing about the Cisco line is that you've got Cisco UCS. So within UCS, you can actually configure this memory, save that configuration, use it across your entire environment if you needed to, or change it on the fly within a GUI, right? So you don't have to fat finger on every single server or anything like that. You can just go back to a standardized configuration that's stored in the UCS platform. Okay, so these are a couple of links that I wanted to share with you, and the first one is a pretty deep white paper on Optane in the Cisco system, and then the second one is a nice little primer on persistent memory, and it's a little more generalized, I guess. So with that, thanks for watching, and have a great day.